We are going to continue now to follow up on a previous video. I know it was quite a long video in relation to there is no gang that can be connected to Aaron Brady or his friends. The gang and the story made up by the DPP and Garda Síochána is totally fictional. We went through quite a lot of detail in the last video, and I hope in this video we will actually see that the evidence, there is evidence, physical evidence there at the murder scene that proves Aaron Brady had nothing to do with the murder and robbery at Lordship Credit Union. But we've also tied in very closely how the mainstream media continue and continually perpetuate the story that is pushed out by the Garda press office. And this is just a little example of it. I'm going to listen to Owen Reynolds here, and this is from the primetime programme that went out immediately after Aaron was found guilty.
The raiders who were responsible for the death of Detective Guard Adrian Donohoe were gone within 60 seconds, so the forensic evidence just really isn't there.
Now, we have called Mr. Reynolds out on this on a number of occasions. It's a total whitewash, it's totally misleading, and indeed, Mr. Reynolds, it is a tissue of lies. As we are about to see, that there was no evidence, there was nothing. Very, very convenient when there was indeed a myriad of information at the murder scene, Mr. Reynolds. As you well know, and you have not altered your view publicly since you released that trash journalism in, I'd say, August 2020. So let's have a quick look at how the whole evidence that was found at the robbery and murder scene, how that was manipulated, curated, erased, and how it was used to create a false conviction of our son Aaron. Now, the first thing we're going to do, we're going to listen to a sound that was created during the course of Aaron's trial. There is a video from the dash cam of one of the senior credit union workers, a video from the dash cam, and there's some sound, and you can hear voices quite clearly in that recording. But we did hear them recently again during the course of James Flynn and Brendan Trainor's trial, and there is no doubt if we and indeed the public or anyone else had time to study these voices, the shouting from the raiders, you would be able to discern, I'm almost sure, accents and different dialects as these men were shouting. So it is relatively clear. It was played once very quickly during the course of Aaron's trial. And then, so the jury couldn't hear it again, or indeed the judge couldn't hear it again, or indeed the public couldn't hear it again. Graham and Stain brought forward what they called a digitally enhanced version of the voices. Now, this is exactly, well, it sounds exactly what Graham and Stain played in a court of law as evidence. Now, this is very difficult to believe, but this is what these bastards put up in a court of law from a recording with clear voices on it, and this is what they played in court. So there we have it. As difficult as that is to understand, they told us that they took the tape away, had it digitally enhanced, and they played that in a courtroom as some form of evidence. They played it in front of a jury and they played it in front of the judge. Why? Why on earth would that be played with anything got to do with the murder of Detective Adrian Donohoe? I'll tell you exactly why it was played. It was played to cover up the truth and the accents and the dialect of those men who committed the murder and robbery. There can be no other explanation. None. When I look back at it now, we should have objected, we should have stood up, we should have called all sort of mayhem in the court, because it was blatant and a pathetic attempt to hide the truth and manipulate evidence. But that's not all from the murder scene, not by a long shot. We look now at this slide here. There was DNA on the inside door of the Garda car. Now, obviously, that DNA did not match Aaron. And obviously, it didn't match any of the others, example, James Flynn or Brendan Traynor, or any of the other names that was bandied about by Stain and Graham. And it was brushed away that one of the judges actually said that the Garda car would be like a bus, to be people in and out of it. I would argue that point very strongly. The people getting into the driver's side of that Garda vehicle would be very well known, whether they be people in the garage, whether they be members of Garda Síochána in Dundalk Barracks, or even someone that they had arrested, or someone that was moved in the car on the inside door of the driver's side. And we do know that one of the raiders reached in past Joe Ryan and took the keys out of the ignition. But to say that there was no forensic evidence is a lie, Owen Reynolds. There most certainly was, and there was no match with Aaron Brady or any of the other men that were mentioned. We look then, and again, this goes back to the dolphin noises that was played in respect of the accents and the voices of the men who actually committed, that were in the process of committing the murder and the robbery. And you can see here, one of the credit union workers is Bernadette, parked on her car, her window is broken, and the man is shouting at her, "Give us the fucking money, give us the fucking money." Now that girl, obviously very traumatised, she was taken away and debriefed, and she was giving her statement to a member of Garda Síochána who had a Dublin accent. And he shouted at her, "Give us the fucking money," in a Dublin accent, and Bernadette said, "Yes, that is similar to the man who attacked my car." So your assertion that there is no evidence at the scene, Mr. Reynolds, again falls very, very short. Your statement is way, way off the mark. We move then to a situation where there's footprints. You can see the 4 little dots there. That's the area behind the wall at the back of the credit union where the 4 raiders waited for 40 minutes for the convoy of cars to come into the Lordship Credit Union car park. And there was cast taken of footprints there and in the little field in the run-up to the wall. So we know the raiders were dropped off a little road behind the credit union. The raiders had to come through that field. There was footprints taken and cast taken. And we know ourselves from when our house was searched here, and we know other people's houses were searched, and one of the vital things the authorities was looking for was boots, shoes, footwear. And as far as we know, there was a specific type of footwear identified in that field behind the credit union of those who committed the murder and robbery. And of course, you've guessed it, there is no link with either the type of footwear, the size, or the make of the footwear to Aaron or anyone else that was connected with Aaron and allegedly part of a so-called gang that simply did not and does not exist. So again, Mr. Reynolds, your assertion that there was no evidence left, 58 seconds, everything was gone, is a lie, and your statement falls very, very far short of any sort of investigative journalism or any sort of truth. There was also a hammer left behind. And again, We've seen this hammer on numerous occasions. We've put it up. It's gone very quiet on the, shall we say, the authority side of where this hammer came from and its origin. And we have to believe that there was absolutely no forensic evidence on this hammer. And at any given time, and I've spoken to a number of people working in forensics, to have a working hammer, a hammer that was damaged and well used, to have absolutely no DNA or nothing of substance on it, as was said to me by the people working in forensic, very, very strange or very, very unusual. So the fact again that there was no forensic evidence left behind, Mr. Reynolds, again, falls very, very far short. There was a hammer in a, shall we say, in a very strange position in the credit union worker's car. And the actual logistics of how the hammer got in underneath the seat, again, would beg us some questions and a little bit more investigation. We move then, obviously, to, as you can see here, the evidence from Mary, the senior credit union worker, who looked directly at the vehicle parked in front of her for nearly a minute, 58 seconds. Now, if anyone takes the time this evening when you're sitting in your car at any time and there's someone parked in front of you for a minute in an unusual position, in a situation that is not the norm, and you would absorb what is in front of you. I don't think there's any doubt about that. And senior credit union worker told us that it was an Irish woman with blonde hair driving the getaway vehicle. Vital, vital, vital evidence, Mr. Reynolds. And of course, there can be no female with blonde hair or any sort of hair that can be linked to Aaron Brady in some way that may have been involved in this more than robbery. It simply doesn't exist. It's curated, it's manufactured. And on numerous occasions, we have said that the authorities, the guards, the DPP, Brendan Grehan, airbrushed the girl completely out of the scene. Now, Grehan, at the beginning of Aaron's trial, did name some girls that we've covered before, some young ladies that was either girlfriends or friends with Aaron or some of Aaron's friends. And Grehan even steeped as low into the gutter you went, Grehan, because you should have known that the girl that you did mention and threw her name out into the courtroom was actually suffering from cancer and going through very severe treatment at the time of the more than robbery. And indeed, you should have known that that girl was sitting in a restaurant having a meal, and I'm sure you did. But to mislead the jury, to mislead the judge, dirty, pathetic, low-life prosecution to throw a name out there. You said that girl's name, and obviously the jury then some way absorb that name and believe, because you're standing there saying these names, that there's some credence to it, that there is some substance to what you're saying. Not a scintilla, Grehan. Not a scintilla. It was disgusting. And then you go even lower into the gutter and you name a young girl whom you know was driving through Dundalk or having her hair done in a hairdresser's at the time Adrian Donahue was shot dead. And you knew that, and you bastard, you still threw her name out into the courtroom. And the exact same result, you throw the name out, the jury, the judge hear it, it becomes something of substance. It becomes something that can be believed. When it was nothing, only a lie and a total disgraceful, pathetic attempt at misleading the court and jury, which obviously you did. And then we come to the final piece of evidence that Owen Reynolds and the prosecution seem to just shy away from at all times. All the mainstream media shy away from the facts, the details, actually what happened. The man who shot and murdered Detective Garda Adrian Donoghue was over 6 feet tall. We can tell you this again because the evidence, the CCTV footage, although grainy, you can see the two figures quite clearly, and the man with the shotgun is considerably taller than the man with the handgun. The only person looking at the radar for some period of time, Joe Ryan was sitting in his car at the driver's seat. The car door opened, it was opened by the raiders, and the gunman came through that V in the car from the windscreen to the open part of the door. So the gunman was sitting directly or standing directly in front of Joe Ryan. Joe Ryan had nearly 30 years experience along the border. We were told he was an excellent member of Garda Síochána and he had worked along the border for this prolonged period of time. And obviously he took in what he seen. Obviously he was debriefed. Obviously he would have been put in that position again after the murder and robbery, and they would have went through the details of what he seen. And I am certain there would have been people of different heights put in front of him. Joe Ryan reported that the man who shot and murdered his colleague was over 6'1". We've always said it, and it's always been there. It has been just simply part of the Justice for Aaron Brady campaign. And the only reason it's part of the campaign is because it's truth and it's fact. Mary, the credit union worker who was sitting at the gateway as the man with the long bar ran past her, that's how she described it. Obviously we know now it's almost certainly it was the shotgun the man was carrying. She said he was long and athletic. Aaron Brady was never long and athletic, not for any period of time. Aaron Brady is 5'7", and I'll say it once again, the forensic evidence from the scene would tell us if Aaron Brady had that shotgun in his hand, it meant that the man standing beside him was a dwarf. So this whole collage that is put together by the DPP and the Garda Síochána is a tissue of lies. Everything we've shown you in the last video of 45 minutes in relation to the gang is 100% correct. Everything we've shown you here now this evening is 100% correct. And the outcome from that, the fallout from that is very simple. Aaron Brady cannot be the man who shot and murdered Detective Garda Adrian Donoghue. Aaron Brady cannot have been in the car park at Lordship Credit Union. We now know, evidence has shown us and court has told us, James Flynn and Brendan Traynor were not in the car park. And Reynolds, Schiller, the other Reynolds, Alison O'Riordan, all the court journalists, all the mainstream media now know, and a lot of them sat through the initial part of Aaron's trial. And if you were to be asked now, mainstream journalists, you were to be asked now, who did Brendan Grehan and Lorcan Steen mention continually? Who? They mentioned the two girls which we've covered, who simply can't have been at the murder and robbery at Lordship Credit Union. One of them couldn't drive and the other girl was getting her hair done. And indeed the third girl, three girls. The third girl was in a restaurant, and again, as I say, Brendan Grehan would have known the details of her health condition at that time. And I continue to say it was fucking disgusting for him to throw that girl's name out into the ether during the course of Aaron's trial. So that's the three girls that were named, mainstream journalists. Then you have Eugene Flynn Jr., who has disappeared now completely from the prosecution case because we have found the CCTV footage that shows the young man in the shop, shows him going back to his house and shows him leaving his house a half an hour or more after the murder and robbery with his girlfriend. Brendan Traynor, James Flynn have been acquitted. Those names were bandied about as the gang, the gang, the gang. And then, on top of that, that's them completely gone. That's 6 people completely gone, that names were just thrown out there. And then they have the audacity to come and create another part of the story, that there was other people on the outside, logistics and all that, and we've shown you that's all a complete load of bullshit. Complete nonsense. And we look forward to tearing that apart when the time is right. So we really need you, the public, to understand there is no gang related to, connected to Aaron Brady. He wasn't part of any gang that was involved in the murder robbery at Lordship Credit Union. It's as simple as that. The people who shot and murdered Detective Garda Adrian Donoghue are walking free. They could be anywhere in London, they could be in Coolock, they could be anywhere in the world. And this is why this has to stop. And this is why we must keep you, the public, informed. And we keep repeating it, and we see now from the questions we're getting through Aaron's social media sites that people are questioning and trying to fit the jigsaws together of the real story, of what is false, what is curated, what has been falsely put to the jury and the judge to create a false conviction. And it has to stop. It cannot continue. And once again, we ask you, the Irish public, if you have a mind to do so, please contact your local public representative. Whether it be a local representative or national representative, please continue to do so. Please continue to get those in authority to ask questions. We know everybody's afraid of this. And it is a sad blight on our country at this moment in time that we cannot question anything. And that is all we are asking for questions to be answered. It's very simple. Put the questions out there. If they can be answered, so be it. If any of these questions in our 230 videos could have been answered, I think we would have heard by now. So please continue to ask those questions in public. Please talk about Aaron's case. Please get it out. Talk to your friends. Talk about it. Look at see what videos they've seen and what they've read in the newspaper. But this was said. Please talk about it. Get the conversation going. Please like, comment and share. Our platforms are being very seriously attacked continuously. Why? Because we're telling the truth and the authorities have created a house of cards, shall we say, in respect of the evidence they put forward during the course of Aaron's trial and indeed James Flynn's trial. But that house of cards will fall because we will continue to work to make sure the house of cards fall. Thank you for watching. Please, please, please like, comment and share, and we'll see you with our next video. Thank you.